Welcome to another Wisdom Pod. We have Steiner on. He's a career coach for designers. He's a principal UX architect, dynamic speaker. He clarifies ambiguity with stories. Love that. Some of his designers have worked for Apple, Google, Notion, Lyft, IBM, big brands. He's worked himself for other big brands such as Wells Fargo. Um, and yeah, I definitely see here JP Morgan. I love these brands. Most people don't like these big banks. I like them. And Capital One. So we're going to talk about how to acquire such clients, how to be a big roller as a designer, how to create something that supersedes yourself, I guess, and unleash your creativity while getting paid. This podcast is brought to you by podpair.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcast and monetize your own podcasting, you can go to podpair.com. Steven, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on. So what I'm up to now is kind of what you just said. So a career coach for designers. And really what sets that up is I've been a designer my entire career. As you were hinting or commenting on a few of my accolades there, I climbed my way up the corporate ladder doing what society told us to do. And I realized that that doesn't actually fill me up. So what I do now is I help designers figure out what it is they want to do in order to get what they want next. And by doing that, a lot of the value comes from knowing what it takes to be successful in the craft, where most of my competitors or other career service offerings don't have the same experience. And they assume all designers are the same when they're not. Like there's 7 different types of designers, and really leaning into what fills you up, knowing that people will pay you to do that if they understand the value.
What are these types of designers first, the 7 types?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 7 types of designers, kind of in order of the design process, goes with there is your generalist, which is really that product designer role. There's going to be your strategist, your architect, your artist type, your author type, and then there's also the design program management side. So maybe more that design operations side of things is really where the breakdown comes in. And then there's always going to be that researcher that kind of spans it all. So it's figuring out like where maybe your natural skill sets are, or what do you enjoy doing, and then how do we line that up to add value to people who need your services.
Interesting. So yes, there's a couple of paths someone that's skillful at design can take, work at a big firm, get the big bucks, or not work at a big firm and get the small bucks, but um yeah, a bit more freedom. Then there's a freelancer option, which I guess it's getting trendier and trendier. And finally, there's probably launching an agency, and the ultimate evolution, I guess, would be a SaaS or the like yourself launching courses and doing coaching. I guess that depends on their type of personality. But do you generally encourage entrepreneurship, or do you think it's something that needs to be wired in you from the get-go?
For me, a lot of it is really just playing into what that person wants to do. So there are a handful of people who are maybe more freelance, entrepreneurial, who come to hire me to help them get clear on what their story is. And then there's also designers who are either brand new in their career, transitioning into the space, or wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And they hire me to help them really get clear on how do they talk about their value and their skills in a way that stands out. So to me, it's not about what it is the right path. It's all about what does that designer want to do, and then how do I help them feel empowered and supported to go exactly down that path in a way that most designers feel overwhelmed or crowded by the noise. So it's like, let's work on you as a designer who matters and clarify your story so other people don't have to try to put in the work.
And generally speaking, are designers like more the creative type and less well versed at business, starting a business or negotiating contracts? What struggles do they face, most of them?
Yeah, a lot of them face the struggles around trying to figure out how to quantify our value. So design is one of those skill sets that everybody has an opinion on, even though they might not be good at it. So like if you're a web developer or somebody who's doing something more technical, it just works. And nobody really goes in and analyzes your code. Whereas a designer, it doesn't matter what it is of any skill level, people have opinions about it. So what we have to do as the actual ones who create the artifacts that people are paying for is articulate our value and also show how it matters and how we got there, and then trying to put a price tag on it, like trying to quantify it in a way that people don't think that designs automatically happen. There's work that goes into it. There's levels of experience that's required, and being able to quantify that so people who pay for it feel like they're not getting not enough or too much or whatever it is. Like we have to educate them in the skill that it takes to create it, because it's not an overnight success by any means, and you can't just be creative on the fly.
Interesting. And on your side, you offer 1v1 calls, you offer a community sort of $500 a month is what I see here. So you have various packages. Some of are micro revenue for you, some are on the medium ticket. Then what's your high ticket offer, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like what you said, I have tiered membership levels. So the lowest tier being free access to just the Slack channel where I have the community. And then as the levels of membership increase, we have that do it myself option. We have more of the group membership option. And then the high ticket item is that career expansion membership, where it includes more live time with me via live one-on-one coaching sessions, as well as asynchronous feedback. Because a lot of the value that I provide isn't the live conversations, it's the ability to go in and review the materials and provide really actionable feedback that's unique to that person. And it's really awkward to do that live. Like I imagine if you're trying to read a resume live and give feedback on it without fully processing your thoughts or maybe needing time to digest it, that's the asynchronous feedback that I offer on the higher ticket item.
And I'm looking at some of your products here and wondering, are designers gonna have that kind of budget? Or can designers be paid big time? Because I think that UX people generally have really nice salary, and product people, some of the highest sometimes, if I'm guessing. So what's the salary output of a designer nowadays? Or am I just looking way too much at Silicon Valley salary?
I don't think you're wrong. Absolutely. And that's why I offer the tiered membership levels to meet people where they're at in their career. So whether if you have 10 plus years of experience or just getting started, the income might differ based off of your employment or whatever your financial status might be with family or friends who might be helping you financially. So yes, I have designers who are at all different levels in my memberships to get the services that they need, and all of them have their benefits that allow them to accomplish that. And yes, product designers, UX design tend to be on the higher end. Like there's even a ton of graphic designers who transition into UX and product design because it's a more lucrative industry to be in.
Well, leads product design like you were at Wells Fargo, that's at least 300K a year, isn't it?
No, I wish. It could, yeah,
150K, like,
yeah, yeah, at
okay,
least
in SF, I
100.
mean the hub of design, I guess, and yeah, you were designing like important stuff, I guess, at your position there.
Yeah, so the range could go like a newer designer could probably expect to get 50 to 80,000. And then as you work your way up, there's definitely higher paying fields where it could be 300 plus, and it just comes into seniority as well. There's also like age of experience or years of experience isn't the only definition of success by any means. There have been plenty of people who sit on 10 plus years of experience and assume authority, even though they're getting outperformed by newer designers. So a lot of it to me comes into the value of your outcomes versus maybe the output or tenure that you assume you have.
And what did you like and not like about that job? Why did you decided to merge full-time into entrepreneurship?
A lot of what it was in the middle management role that I had most recently. It was an element of politics that didn't fill me up. So what does fill me up, I consider myself a designer by trade and a coach at heart. Even when I was 15 and a half, my first job was teaching swim lessons. So being able to productize my knowledge and help other people get what they want is far more fulfilling for me. However, in a middle management role, when I felt like all I was doing was trying to advocate for my team or advocate for funding or advocate for hiring or advocate for politics, it just wasn't a space where that's what society told me to do. And I did it and I hated it. and it was stressful. It wasn't it wasn't entertaining to me. So it was trying to figure out like what were the parts that filled me up. And when I did what I consider a career soul searching adventure, talk to coaches, talk to different managers, talk to different designers, the thing that attracted me the most was how do I help designers? And when you're a coach for a corporation, you're still working for that corporation, even though it might not be the best fit for your designers that are on your team. So as a third party in that entrepreneurial spirit, I'm able to help designers do what they want, whether if that is their current employer or not. To me, I'm of service of the designer and not of the corporation who hopes that I can help level up their designers.
How do you upskill yourself as a designer nowadays? Because you mentioned these older designers that didn't had their skills up to date. Is it like arriving home and designing a product for your own startup? Which is probably what I do vs like taking courses and courses.
So is the question, how do I level up my design skills?
Yeah, or anyone, because me, I'm all about like practical training, right? Like way
Sure.
more than I am about theory. So how does a modern UX leader upskill themselves nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of different ways to gather skills. And I think you're talking about is like the theory of like you can read about it all day long and then you actually put it into action. So I do it in a few different ways. Like, yes, career coach for designers is what I'm building. At the same time, I do have contract jobs as a designer. So right now I'm working with one of the nation's largest grocery store chains in a way where it's like I'm able to try this stuff out in the wild with real jobs, or you're talking to other designers regularly, or we're staying up on just kind of where things are going, especially around the different AI options that exist. It's like, okay, there's shiny objects that might exist, and then there's actual practical implementations of those, and trying to figure out how is it being used and how might I have a place to test it, where the ROI might not be there yet until we get more confident on it.
And I see you have your LinkedIn updated, you have your website updated. So is that something you recommend to your candidates? Like where are people messing up nowadays in terms of getting more contracts?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is not necessarily what they're messing up on, but it's not filling it out completely. So like LinkedIn, for example, is basically a massive search engine of itself. Like imagine LinkedIn being the new phone book. And if you don't have enough stuff listed, LinkedIn doesn't know how to index you and help you show up. So what I encourage and work with designers to do is to fill in the opportunities with it, which is tailoring your resumes to be applicable to the words that the jobs you're going for, optimize your LinkedIn profile and using the settings that are available and filling that stuff in a way that tells your value. And then the other one being personalizing your portfolio. So everybody makes a hiring decision off of 4 main topics, and it's how do you hit those 4 topics every channel that you get to tell your story.
What UX tips do you have for brands nowadays? Like how do you think in terms of UX and maximizing the best interactions on the platform, I guess?
Yeah, a lot of it is the whole idea of like simplifying it more than adding. So everybody thinks that they need to add a ton of words or a ton of features or a ton of shiny objects. And all that does is create more and more confusion that doesn't actually guide people where they want to go. So the 4 things that everybody makes on a hiring decision is who you are, what you do, how you do it, and then where to contact you. Same thing could be said about a business. If you're looking to make a purchase, whether if it's a massive like Amazon or a mom and pop shop, they still need to be able to present who they are, what they do, how they do it. And then, so like, what are you buying? How much is going to cost? And then allow people to actually convert, like give them the ability to make that transaction. And people are okay taking multiple steps as long as they feel that those steps are making progress towards the desired outcome.
So what are your top goals for this year? You have these contracts, you have this business of yours, like what is your focus?
What I really want to be able to do is to have career coach for designers be my primary source of income. It's not exactly my primary source of income at the moment. A lot of what I did in 2023 was building out the membership options that exist now. So I started just like most coaches do. Private coaching one-on-one is the lowest barrier to entry. It's also the most expensive in terms of time and effort. to do that. So as I kept listening to the designers that were hiring me, as I kept paying attention to the industry, I built out the 4 membership levels that I have now in a way that could scale. And I have paying members in each tier. So now it just turns into how do we grow that? So it was build, grow, and nurture. I built it out. I'm growing it with the goal of being able to nurture and make it more repeatable.
And where can people find out more about you, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm available on careercoachfordesigners.com is the easiest way to find me. Also very purposefully SEO friendly. So Career Coach for Designers. And then I'm also on LinkedIn is the network that I'm the most active on. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. It's just the linkedin.com, and then Steven Steiner is the profile there as well.